The new rules of warfare, U.S. naval power versus criminal empires. America is demonstrating its readiness for a new kind of conflict. The U.S. Navy has launched one of the biggest deployments to Latin America in years, moving a full naval task force and thousands of Marines into the Caribbean. This operation, which stretches from the Gulf of Mexico down to Venezuela, is less like a routine patrol and more like the framework of a naval blockade. Washington sees this move as essential for addressing the biggest threat to U.S. national security since 9/11. The target is not a conventional state, but highly sophisticated criminal entities. These organizations are no longer small-time smugglers. They are described as private military contractors with annual revenues that exceed $13 billion, putting them in the same league as Fortune 500 companies. For example, certain cartels in Mexico control an estimated 45,000 members and associates, making their combined forces larger than the active military of countries like Norway or Denmark. The primary catalyst for this massive deployment is the synthetic opioid crisis. Economists estimate that the opioid crisis alone cost the U.S. economy $1.47 trillion in 2020. This staggering figure accounts for just over 6% of the entire U.S. GDP. To counter this threat, the U.S. has deployed roughly $8 billion worth of military hardware. The assets include the behemoth USS Uema amphibious Ready Group, Arleigh Burke-class destroyers bristling with missile tubes, and P-8 Poseidon reconnaissance aircraft packed with surveillance systems. The centerpiece of the operation is the addition of a nuclear-powered attack submarine. These modern marvels are equipped with signals intelligence capabilities that allow them to intercept cartel communications traffic from incredible distances without being detected. This armada serves a dual purpose beyond military readiness. First, it is a warning shot to China, signaling that the U.S. is tracking the supply of precursor chemicals used in the manufacturing process. Second, it provides President Trump with military planners' concept of escalation options should diplomatic solutions fail. However, the war is often won far from the deck of a destroyer. It is fought in the global financial system. The U.S. Treasury's OFAC focuses on financial warfare, tracking billions in illicit revenue through shell companies and other laundering schemes. By tracking suspicious transactions and freezing accounts, financial analysts can map out the entire organizational chart of a criminal network, proving to be a more permanent method of destruction than military strikes. The deployment creates significant operational and legal complexities. The military response requires creating joint task forces that combine the overwhelming firepower of Marines with the strict legal protocols of the Coast Guard. This necessity creates a risk for confusion, friendly fire incidents, and international legal disasters, due to the fundamental differences in training and rules of engagement. Furthermore, the operation involves diplomatic tightropes. Mexico publicly denounces the possible use of lethal American force on its sovereign territory, even while quietly sharing the kind of crucial intelligence that satellites cannot capture. In conclusion, this deployment represents a profound shift in security policy, a birth of a new kind of warfare. The U.S. is moving from treating cartels as a law enforcement problem to treating them as military targets. Analysts warn that once the military targeting of non-state actors is normalized, history shows that the guardrails on the use of force quickly crumble. Past interventions, such as the 1954 CIA-backed coup in Guatemala, ultimately created problems that were larger and more difficult to contain, leading to humanitarian disasters that scarred the region for generations.